I also want to investigate further on like how we're gonna spend more credit coin. It seems like in my mind the bond market and derivatives market is actually it. We're gonna have more usage there also, not just by borrowing and repaying. And it seems like that message is not conveyed well to the investors. So I think we will have to develop more ways to like we first have to develop more ways to spend credit coin, and we also have to explain well how we're gonna use it. Like one of the example that recently happened is you proposing like a staking model for credit coin, right? For the people who just wants to use credit coin but not own credit coin. For them, they just borrow credit coin to pay for their transactions. Just
Hmm.
things like that. So there's a lot of clever things that you can do with credit coin. It seems like I didn't really explain it that much. So
Yeah,
I think we have to really do that
well, I guess it's
because we are really different from just like a regular DeFi or just regular payment coins. We are very different. And I don't think we brag about it that much.
yeah. Well, what's your biggest unique selling point? What makes you so different?
I think that our biggest selling point is I see blockchain as a very objective ledger that anyone can trust. And objective information, what kind of objective information is valuable to put on blockchain? The first one was payment, which is or payment slash store value, Bitcoin. And the second one was the thing that we are proposing to put on a blockchain is credit. People make credit transaction. So I kind of see this as like like back in the days when we like people were looking for new way to reach India and like bring back spice and all that, right? So once you find a route, and once you find a route, you pull back. And let me explain this a bit differently. So when you have a let's say grassland, when people start walking on it, I mean if people kept walking on the same route over and over, then you create a pathway on the grass, right? And I think credit is kind of like that. So you create a path, you record a path. Each time you walk on it, it's a way of recording what somebody went over it. And if you actually end up creating a pathway, then in a way that tells other people, oh, this is actually a safe path to walk on, things like that. So that's one thing. So
Yeah.
credit, I think credit is a very valuable um, thing to put on a blockchain in that sense because it tells you that you can make investment on this and
Yeah.
people pay you back.
I, I suppose for me, the biggest challenge for that has always been how do you make it so that identities are very, very strongly linked to the entity, and how do you make them also accountable for what's
Mm-hmm.
on the record? Because just having the record of
Mm-hmm.
transactions isn't, or having
Mm-hmm.
an agreement on credit coin isn't the same as having like a legally enforceable agreement in real life, and it's not the same as
Mm-hmm.
being able to know that person X is person X. In theory, I figured, wouldn't it be possible to create two accounts on Credit Coin and then basically
Yeah,
send
yeah.
money from your account to your account, pay
So,
yourself
so this,
interest, and make yourself
right,
seem very reliable?
right.
Um,
And this is a early misunderstanding that many people ask. You don't. So, for example, let me put it this way. For example, when you pay somebody on the internet, you pay because you know there's somebody behind that account, right? When you pay Amazon, for example, you pay Amazon because you know that's the account of the Amazon. And how do you know if that's the account of the Amazon? Because Amazon tells you that's my account. This is my account. Pay me here, and that's how you know it's Amazon's account. The, the same is the same is true for credit coin. You when you make an investment, it's not like you're just investing on a random number on a blockchain only. You make an investment on that because some entity like Lua or Ella or other company disclose that this is our account and this is where we raise money and this is the investment that we make.
yeah, yeah. I suppose almost the biggest challenge that for me it feels like with something like Bitcoin, in a sense,
Mm-hmm.
it's fairly self-enclosed what it does. You don't really need its function as
Right.
by itself, whereas
Yeah.
with Credit
Right.
Coin,
Right.
you're gonna need inevitably a lot of partners, and you're gonna need a lot of
Right.
people to get the ball
Right.
rolling.
Yeah.
It's just a question of, because onboarding people is a process, and it's one of these. The more people you have,
Yeah.
the easier it is to get more people, and the more people want to join. It's just getting that
Right.
initial ball rolling is always going to be a challenge.
Yeah.
With a lot of,
I mean,
I think, blockchain projects as well.
yeah.
There might
But
be.
we already have people who we're gonna deploy too. We already have that part, and I think for us the challenge is explaining what's really happening better, because like
Yeah.
the questions that you have, for example, I already answered this like a couple of times. I mean, like that's the first question that I get asked when I'm listing on an exchange. For the exchange, it's the same question. Okay, so you're a P2P lending platform, but unlike other DeFi products, you don't have collateral, so there's no way to enforce the repayment. Why would I use this? And then I have to explain, unlike other DeFi products or unlike Bitcoin, the product is not intended to be crypto only. The product is intended to be used with the real world, with real people.
Yeah.
And so it's not self-sufficient, and it wasn't designed to be self-sufficient.
No.
But that was the intention. We didn't think being crypto only will be the future of crypto, because if crypto cannot transact with the real economy, then in the end, all you're gonna just do is exchanging zero and ones. So it's just crypto, self-fulfilling prophecy of crypto, like what happened to the recent DeFi projects. So they were generating numbers, but because no value was actually entering the ecosystem, they all crashed.
With Credit Coin, is there still going to be that peer-to-peer market? That sort of, or would it always be through partners as well?
I think there is no peer-to-peer market in the end. So, for example, let's say this: if there's a true peer-to-peer market, which doesn't really exist at the moment, with no entity in the middle who actually enforces the repayment, you're going to have the same problem. It's not a problem with Credit Coin. If you do peer-to-peer, if you actually lend your friend money, then you actually have to go get your friend and recollect the money.
Yeah. Well, it's like when you have a bank. If something bad happens to your money, then they have the legal, the sort of financial power to do something about it, to enforce the sort of contracts between parties, and that's obviously something which I guess you'll always need.
And that's rebuildable on top of blockchain too. So for example, let's say we launch our savings account and people put their money into the savings account, and there's a possibility of bank run. What if Gula doesn't put the money back into the savings account, right? And you can create a insurance-like product, which is another smart contract, has some amount of money that if the balance is zero here, then you can withdraw from here. And as an exchange, you pay this contract X amount of fee, something like that. So that will be what you described, insurance-like product for your bank account. So we're building it bit by bit at this moment to accelerate the process. That's why we actually get a legal entity in Cayman Islands and so on and so forth, because that actually ensures that we have a legal duty to not fuck you over. And if you have any like other idea on how to use Credit Coin, for example, we didn't really agree to do that yet, but if you think a Credit Coin as a governance token can be interesting, let me know so we can develop that part of the area, things like that. As a crypto person, or maybe I don't think it's just me, but generally for a crypto person who likes Bitcoin, governance token idea doesn't really mean anything to me. You know what I mean? Because, like, for example, like, what was the compound governance token that allows you to make a pull request. But what happens if they don't accept it? That's kind of question, right? So
Well, see, I think the whole governance bit comes in because people are quite excited about the idea of these sort of self-run economy, like they're their
Mhm.
own sort of legal entity where they control the decisions. That the idea
Right,
that power is given to the users, as
right,
opposed to like a bank or a central intermediary. I don't know if that's going to be applicable to all blockchain projects. There's no reason why it needs to be. I mean, even private ones do also have their own governance mechanisms, which seem to be pretty important because
hmm
when there's private companies involved directly in the way, and there's multiple in the same project, then they all really want to know exactly what happens when things go wrong or what the processes are.
right,
But
right.
for a open source sort of more community projects, I don't know why there needs to be a sort of always a sort of exciting governance thing. I mean, it seems to me almost like the idea of self governance and crypto is more of a marketing tool than
Yeah,
something which in
yeah,
all cases will be helpful. I mean, I can understand why in, for example, a compound sort of token model that
hmm
I mean, for example, why is the governance linked directly to the token? I mean, presumably just because they want people to buy the token.
to buy it.
Yeah, there's other ways to do governance which might be more
Right.
democratic. So
Yeah,
I also get it, because it means the people with the most
yeah,
invested have the highest say. But
hmm
you know, um,
yeah.
and I don't know how do you think the governance could work in Credit Coin? I mean, what would they be governing? The sort of like
So, in my point of view, a well-governed blockchain project will work like any other software project. So, there will be an original version of it, and as the project grow, if the project grows, people will have a different need. So, let's say I want credit coin to be red, and you want credit coin to be blue for whatever reason, right? And what we can do is we just fork it because we cannot have an agreement. We create a blue credit coin, we create a red credit coin, and let it evolve naturally. Maybe people will adapt both. Maybe people will not adapt red one, only blue one.
yeah.
And it happens again and then again in the software development cycle. And it's just like natural selection. We end up with a couple of versions of the software.